My name is Tori Barrett. I was 30 years old when I graduated from Army basic training. 10 weeks of 4:30 wake-ups, gas chamber drills, and learning to disassemble an M4 in under 60 seconds. I earned it. Every mile, every push-up, every sleepless night in the Georgia humidity. Graduation day at Fort Moore was bright and loud. 300 recruits lined up in formation, pressed uniforms, boots polished to mirrors. The bleachers behind us were packed. I could hear them before I saw them. Mothers crying, fathers whistling, kids holding homemade signs with glitter letters. I looked over my shoulder once during the ceremony. Section F, row 3, seats 7, 8, and 9. I had given those seat numbers to my father, my mother, and my sister 6 weeks earlier. All 3 chairs were empty. After the ceremony, every recruit around me disappeared into a wall of hugs. I stood in formation holding my certificate and watched. A stranger's mother walked up to me, put her hand on my shoulder, and said, "We're proud of you, honey." But the empty chairs were just the beginning. What my dad texted me 3 weeks later, and what happened when I finally changed those locks. That's where this story really starts. Welcome back to Calm Drama Stories. This is where we share stories about family betrayal, quiet strength, and the moment someone finally says enough. If this story hits close to home, drop a comment and be sure to subscribe. Let me tell you about the Barrett family. My father, Ray Barrett, was a plumber in Collinsville, Illinois. Made $62,000 a year. Owned his house outright. Drove a Ford F-150 he washed every Sunday like it was a church ritual. He was the kind of man who kept a running tab of every dollar he spent on his children. Not on paper. In his head. And he never let you forget the total. My mother, Diane, was a homemaker who deferred every decision to Ray. What to eat. Where to vacation. Which daughter deserved what. She had opinions, but she stored them in the same place she stored the good china. Behind glass. For display only. Then there was Megan, my older sister. 3 years ahead of me in everything except accountability. Megan got the new prom dress. I got the hem taken up on hers. Megan got $2,000 for a first car. I got bus fare and a suggestion to apply at the Dairy Queen on Route 9. When Megan moved into her first apartment, our parents paid the deposit. When I moved into mine, my father said, "You're smart. You'll figure it out." And I did figure it out. Every single time. Before I left for basic training, I gave my parents a spare key to our house, mine and Jake's house. We had bought it 2 years earlier with a VA loan and my savings from 6 years as a civilian logistics coordinator. I handed the key to my father at the kitchen table and said, "Just in case you need to check on the house while I'm gone." He took it without saying thank you, slipped it onto his keyring like it belonged there. I should have paid attention to that. I enlisted at 28. People asked me why so late. The honest answer was that I spent my 20s doing what my family should have helped me do at 18. I put myself through college at Southern Illinois University, logistics management degree, worked 3 jobs simultaneously, morning shift at a warehouse, afternoon tutoring at the campus writing center, weekends at a catering company. Graduated with $11,000 in student loans and not a single dollar from my parents. My father's logic was simple. Megan needed help because Megan struggled. I didn't need help because I didn't struggle. The fact that I didn't struggle because I worked myself into exhaustion was a detail he chose to ignore. After college, I worked for a supply chain firm in St. Louis. Good job, steady, but I wanted more structure, more purpose. Jake had served 4 years in the Army before we met, and he talked about it the way some people talk about the place that made them. So at 28, I walked into a recruiter's office and signed. My father's reaction was a shrug. "Well, that's your choice." My mother said, "Just be careful, honey." Megan said, "Does that mean you won't be around for my engagement party?" Before I shipped out to Fort Moore, I set up an automatic transfer, $400 a month from my checking account to my father's. He never asked for it directly. But every Thanksgiving, he'd mention how tight things were, how property taxes went up again, how Megan needed this or that. So I set it up. An automated guilt payment deposited on the first of every month. I also paid off Megan's credit card twice. $1,200 the first time, $2,300 the second. She said she'd pay me back. She never mentioned it again. Basic training stripped everything down to the essentials. You learned who you were when no one was watching and no one was helping. Every Sunday, I had 10 minutes to call home. The Army gave us those minutes like rationed water. Precious, measured, never enough. I called my mother every week. Week 1, she asked how I was. I told her about the drill sergeants, the barracks, the red Georgia clay that stained everything. She listened for about 90 seconds, then shifted. Megan found a venue, the Grandview Estate. It's gorgeous, Tori. $300 a plate. Week 3, I called again. My father answered Diane's phone. Your mother's at a cake tasting with Megan. I'll tell her you called. He hung up before I could say anything else. The call lasted 41 seconds. Week 5, I tried my father's cell directly. No answer. I tried again the next Sunday. No answer. The Sunday after that, same thing. 3 weeks in a row. I stopped calling him. The only mail I received at Fort Moore came from Jake. A postcard with a picture of our dog, Biscuit, sitting on the front porch. On the back, Jake wrote, "House is standing. Dog is fat. Proud of you. Come home soon." I kept that postcard in my cargo pocket for 5 weeks. Drill Sergeant Reeves noticed. She was a compact woman with a voice that could peel paint off a Humvee. One morning during formation, she pulled me aside. "Barrett, Family Day is next week. You got anyone coming?" I looked her in the eye. "Yes, Drill Sergeant." She held my gaze for 2 seconds longer than necessary. She knew. Drill sergeants always know. She nodded once and walked away. I had lied. Nobody was coming. Family Day was the day before graduation. The base opened its gates and families flooded in like a dam had broken. SUVs with bumper stickers, minivans with balloons taped to antennas, grandparents in lawn chairs, toddlers in matching outfits. I watched from the barracks window. Sergeant Reeves found me 20 minutes later. "Barrett, come with me." She walked me across the parade field to a family clustered around a recruit named Lewis. His mother was a wide woman with a loud laugh and a cooler full of fried chicken. His father wore a veteran's cap. His little sister kept jumping on Lewis's back. "Mrs. Lewis, this is Specialist Barrett. She could use some company today." Mrs. Lewis didn't ask questions. She pulled me into a hug that smelled like cornbread and said, "Well, come sit down, baby. You hungry?" I ate fried chicken with strangers while my own mother was trying on Mother of the Bride hats with Megan at a boutique in Edwardsville. I know this because Diane posted the photo to our family group chat at 2:14 that afternoon. She was smiling. New hat, price tag still dangling from the brim. Graduation the next morning was a blur of speeches and salutes. I crossed the stage, shook the commander's hand, received my certificate. Looked out at the bleachers one more time. Section F, row 3. 3 empty chairs. After the ceremony, I checked my phone. One text from my mother. "Sorry, honey. Dad's helping Megan with the venue deposit. We'll celebrate when you're home. You understand, right?" You understand, right? 4 words my mother used like a skeleton key. They unlocked every door she didn't want to walk through herself. I understood perfectly. Jake was waiting at Lambert Airport with a handwritten sign that said, PFC Barrett, and a grin that made the whole terminal disappear for a second. He hugged me in baggage claim. Long, tight. His chin on top of my head. "I'm sorry they didn't come, Tor." "I know." We drove home. Biscuit nearly knocked me over at the front door. I unpacked my duffel bag, hung my dress uniform in the closet, and sat on the bed for a long time without moving. The next day, I drove to my parents' house, 15 minutes across town. Diane answered the door in her bathrobe, coffee in hand, surprised look. "Oh, Tori, when did you get back?" "Yesterday." "Well, come in. Your father's in the den." Ray was watching a Cardinals game. He looked up, nodded, and said, "Hey, kid, you lose weight?" That was it. No congratulations. No questions about training. No mention of the graduation they missed. He turned back to the game. Megan stopped by 20 minutes later. She had a binder. a white binder with a label on the spine that said Barrett Cole Wedding in gold script. She sat at the kitchen table and talked about seating charts for 30 straight minutes. The florist was overcharging. The DJ wanted a deposit by Friday. The bridesmaid dresses came in the wrong shade of blush. She didn't ask me a single question about basic training. I sat there listening, and I felt something shift inside me. Not anger, exactly. More like a lock clicking open. A door I'd been pushing against for years suddenly swinging wide. On the drive home, I checked my bank app. The $400 auto transfer had gone through on the 1st, same as every month. No acknowledgement, no thank you text, just an automated debit and an empty inbox. I found out about the garage on a Tuesday. Jake had mentioned it in passing on the phone during training, but he downplayed it. Your dad brought over some stuff. Said he needed the space. I pictured a box or two, maybe a fishing rod. When I opened the garage door, I stopped walking. Ray had moved in half his shed. 3 fishing rods mounted on a wall rack he'd drilled into my drywall. A red Craftsman tool chest, 6 drawers, the kind that weighs 300 pounds when loaded. A mini fridge plugged into my outlet, humming. A folding table with his tackle box open on top. 2 cardboard boxes with no labels, shoved against the far wall. Jake came up behind me. Yeah, that happened about week 3. He drilled into my wall? He had the spare key. He came over when I was at work. I called my father that evening, kept my voice level. Dad, you put a lot of your stuff in our garage. Had the key, didn't I? House was sitting empty half the day. Needed the room. You drilled into the drywall. It's just a couple of anchors. Calm down. I didn't argue. I hung up and spent the next 45 minutes photographing every item in the garage, timestamps on every photo. I wrote a list on a yellow legal pad. Item, condition, approximate value. 3 pages. Then I opened my bank app and canceled the $400 auto transfer. Effective immediately. I didn't tell anyone. Not Jake, not Diane, not Ray. I just turned off the faucet and waited to see how long it would take them to notice the water had stopped. It took 11 days. 11 days after I canceled the transfer, my mother called. Tori, honey, your father checked the account. The deposit didn't come through this month. I stopped it, Mom. Silence. Not the comfortable kind. The kind where you can hear someone recalculating their entire approach in real time. You can't do that. Your father depends on that money. Dad makes $62,000 a year. He paid off the house in 2019. His truck is 3 years old. He doesn't depend on my $400. That's not the point. Family helps family. Family shows up, Mom. She went quiet again. Then the pivot came. Smooth. Practiced. The way she always did it. After everything we've done for you, Tori. After your father worked double shifts to keep a roof over your head. What specifically did you do for me that you didn't do for Megan? Name one thing. She couldn't. Not because there wasn't an answer, but because the answer was the problem. 10 minutes later, my phone rang again. Ray. What's this about you cutting off the money? I stopped the auto transfer. That's $400 a month, Tori. Your sister's wedding is in 2 months and you're pulling this now? Megan's wedding has nothing to do with my bank account. Family shows up, Tori. Family steps up. You didn't show up to my graduation, Dad. 5 seconds of silence. I counted them. Then the line went dead. I set the phone down on the kitchen counter. Jake looked up from the couch. That went well? About how I expected. He nodded and went back to his book. Biscuit walked over and put her head on my knee. I scratched behind her ears and stared at the wall. The first domino had fallen. I could hear the rest of them starting to wobble. Tori just cut off the money. Her dad's already furious. But what happens when the real ask comes in? The one that changes everything. You won't believe what he texted her next. If you're hooked, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single twist. 3 weeks later, on a Saturday morning in October, my phone buzzed on the nightstand. I was making eggs. Jake was at the table reading the news on his tablet. Biscuit was under the table waiting for scraps. Normal morning. Normal life. I picked up the phone. Text from Dad. Tori, I need $8,000 for your sister's wedding. Venue deposit due Friday. Send it to my account. I read it twice. Not because I didn't understand it. Because I wanted to make sure I wasn't misreading the audacity. No greeting. No, how are you? No, would you consider? Just, I need, and send it. The way you'd text someone instructions for picking up dry cleaning. I walked over to Jake and held out my phone. He read it, set his tablet down, took off his glasses. He can't be serious. He's completely serious. I opened Instagram, Megan's profile, her latest post from the day before. A mirror selfie in a bridal boutique, trying on a gown with a cathedral train. She tagged the shop. I clicked through. The dress was listed at $4,200. She was trying on a $4,000 dress while our father was texting me for $8,000. I put my phone face down on the counter, walked to the bathroom, turned on the shower and stood under the water for 12 minutes. I wasn't crying. I was calculating. $12,000 in auto transfers over 30 months. $3,500 in credit card bailouts for Megan. $0 contributed to my college. 0 family members at my graduation. And now $8,000 more, delivered not as a request, but as a directive. I turned off the water, dried my face, looked in the mirror. I knew exactly what I was going to do. Jake was still at the kitchen table when I came out. He'd poured me a fresh cup of coffee. Didn't say anything until I sat down. What do you want to do? That was Jake. No lectures, no leading questions, just an open door. Let me think out loud for a second. He nodded. In the last 2.5 years, I've sent my father $12,000 in auto transfers. I paid off Megan's credit card twice. $1,200 and $2,300. That's $15,500 total. Nobody's ever asked Megan to contribute to anything. Not once. Jake leaned back. And now he wants 8 more. Not wants, needs. He wrote, I need. Like it's already decided and I'm just the delivery mechanism. What are you thinking? I picked up my phone, opened the Venmo app, looked at the screen. I'm thinking about giving my father exactly what he's worth. Jake watched me for a moment. Then the corner of his mouth twitched. Not a smile exactly. More like recognition. He'd seen me make decisions like this before. Quiet. Final. No going back. You sure? I've never been more sure about anything. He got up, walked over, and kissed the top of my head. Then he went back to the couch and picked up his book. That was the thing about Jake. He never told me what to do. He never pushed. He just asked what I wanted, and then he got out of the way. After a lifetime of people telling me what my role was, his silence was the loudest form of support I'd ever known. I looked at the Venmo screen. My thumbs hovered over the keypad. I typed the amount, $8. Even. In the memo line, I wrote 2 words, best wishes. My thumb hovered over the green send button for about 10 seconds. Jake looked up from his book. He didn't say anything. He just raised his eyebrows. I pressed send. The confirmation popped up. $8 sent to Ray Barrett. Best wishes. I set the phone on the counter and went back to the stove. The eggs were cold. I scraped them into the trash and started a new batch. 47 minutes of silence. I know because I checked the clock when the first call came in. Missed call from Dad. Then another. Then a third. Then a text from Mom. Call your father immediately. Then Megan. 1 text, 7 words. Are you serious right now, Tori? I didn't answer any of them. I turned the ringer off, put the phone in the kitchen drawer next to the menus and dead batteries, and closed it. Jake and I ate breakfast. Scrambled eggs, toast, orange juice. We talked about replacing the kitchen faucet and whether Biscuit needed a vet appointment. Normal things, quiet things. At noon, I made spaghetti for dinner prep. Browned the meat, simmered the sauce, put it in the fridge. I cleaned the kitchen, did laundry, took Biscuit for a walk around the block. Somewhere across town, my family was losing their minds over $8, and I was folding towels. It was the calmest I had felt in years. That evening, I checked the phone. 11 missed calls, 6 texts, One voicemail from my father, the gist of which was, "You have 1 week to fix this, or you can forget you have a father." I put the phone back in the drawer. The family group chat exploded that night. Megan fired first. She screenshotted my Venmo payment, $8, best wishes, and dropped it into the chat with no caption, just the image. Let it speak for itself. Aunt Gloria responded in under a minute. "That's cruel, Tori. Your father asked for help and you mocked him." Uncle Frank. "He asked nicely. You should be ashamed of yourself." My mother. "I raised you better than this." Cousin Amy didn't say anything. She never did in that chat. The messages stacked up fast, 14 in 20 minutes. Every one of them a variation of the same theme. I was selfish. I was ungrateful. I was tearing the family apart. Not one of them mentioned graduation. Not one of them asked why I sent $8 instead of 8,000. Not one of them questioned whether the ask itself was reasonable. Then I saw the comment that stopped me cold. Uncle Frank, replying to Megan's screenshot. "Ray still has the key to her house. Maybe he should go over and talk to her in person." I read it 3 times. Let the words settle. My father had a key to my house. My uncle was suggesting he use it to show up uninvited. And nobody in the chat saw anything wrong with that. I looked at Jake across the living room. He was scrolling through something on his phone, half paying attention. I held mine up so he could see the screen. He read Frank's message. His jaw tightened. "We need to change the locks," I said. He was already reaching for his jacket. "Tonight," I said. He nodded. "I'll be back in 30 minutes. The door closed behind him. I sat in the quiet house and listened to the deadbolt he was about to replace. Jake came back from the hardware store with a bag from Home Depot. New Kwikset deadbolt, brushed nickel. New doorknob with a keypad lock. New 4-digit code for the garage door opener. He started on the front door first. I handed him tools from the kitchen drawer while he worked on his knees in the porch light. While he drilled, I went to the garage. I cataloged everything my father had left behind. 3 fishing rods. A tackle box with a broken latch. The red Craftsman tool chest. 6 drawers, fully loaded. A mini fridge, still humming, with 4 cans of Budweiser inside. A folding table, 2 unlabeled cardboard boxes. I photographed every item with my phone. Date stamp, time stamp, every angle. I wrote a list on a legal pad. Item, condition, estimated value. I put the list in a manila folder and set it on the kitchen counter. Then I texted Ray. 1 message. Measured. No emotion. "Your personal items are in our garage. You have 7 days to arrange pickup during daylight hours. We will be home. Call first." No response. Jake finished the front door by 9:15. He moved to the garage keypad. Changed the code. Tested it twice. Then he checked every window lock in the house, because that was who Jake was. At 9:40, he came back to the living room. "All done. New deadbolt, new knob, new garage code." "Thank you." He sat down next to me, paused. "I found something in your dad's tool chest." He held up a key, brass, fresh cut. A copy of the spare key, hidden in the bottom drawer under a shop rag. A copy of the copy. My father had made a backup key to my house without telling me. I took it from Jake's hand and put it in the trash can. It was the group chat that broke me open. Not the new messages, the old ones. After Megan posted the Venmo screenshot, I started scrolling backward through the family group chat. I don't know what I was looking for. Maybe evidence? Maybe context? Maybe I just needed to see the pattern laid out in black and white. I found it 4 months back. A conversation from the week I announced my enlistment. Megan had written, "If Tori's going to basic, who's going to help with my wedding?" My mother replied, "Don't worry, she'll still send money. She always does." And then my father. 6 words, typed at 11:47 on a Tuesday night. "That girl has been our backup plan since she got her first job at 16. Backup plan. I read it 3 times. Then I read it again. I scrolled further. 2 years earlier. A conversation about Megan needing a car. Ray. Megan needs the car. Tori can figure it out. She always does. Diane. I feel bad. Should we at least offer to help with her rent? Ray. She's fine. She's always fine. She's always fine. Because I had to be. Because nobody gave me the option not to be. I sat in my car in the garage for a long time. The new garage code glowed green on the keypad. The engine was off. The overhead light had timed out. I was sitting in the dark, reading messages I was never meant to see. My mother's words from graduation echoed back. You understand, right? Now I understood. I understood everything. I was never the daughter they forgot. I was the daughter they counted on forgetting herself. The one who always figured it out. The one who always sent the money. The backup plan. I let myself cry for about 5 minutes. Then I stopped. Wiped my face with my sleeve. Took 3 slow breaths. I had cried enough for people who never cried for me. I went inside. Jake was at the kitchen table with his laptop open, not really looking at it. I set my phone on the table and slid it toward him. Read the screenshots. He picked it up, scrolled. His face didn't change much, but I knew his tells. The way his jaw shifted to the left, the way his breathing slowed down. He was angry, but he held it the way he held everything. Steady, contained, like a man who'd learned a long time ago that losing control didn't fix anything. He set the phone down. Backup plan. Since I was 16, apparently. He didn't say he was sorry. He didn't say what he thought I should do. He just put his hand on mine and left it there. We sat like that for a while. The kitchen clock ticked. Biscuit snored under the table. Outside, someone's sprinkler kicked on. I started making a list in my head. Every time I had been the one to figure it out. Every hand-me-down dress. Every scholarship I applied for because they wouldn't pay. Every Sunday phone call spent listening to Megan's plans instead of anyone asking about mine. The prom. The car. The apartment deposit. The credit card bailouts. The auto transfer. $15,500. That was the number. And it didn't include the things money couldn't measure. I'm done understanding, I said. Jake squeezed my hand once. What's next? His stuff is still in the garage. He has 4 more days to pick it up. And if he doesn't? Then he doesn't. I got up, rinsed my coffee mug, and went to bed. I slept hard that night. Dreamless. The kind of sleep you get when something heavy has finally been set down. 4 days left on the clock. Day 5. No word from Ray about picking up his things. I came home from work at the logistics office on base. Jake's truck was in the driveway. Everything looked normal from the front. Inside, Jake was at the kitchen table with his laptop open. He turned it toward me without saying anything. Ring doorbell footage. Time-stamped 2:17 that afternoon. My father's truck pulling into the driveway. Ray getting out, walking to the garage, punching the old code into the keypad. Wrong. Trying again. Wrong. A 3rd time. Wrong. He walked to the front door, inserted the old key, turned it. Nothing. The deadbolt held. He stepped back, looked at the door like it had personally insulted him. Then he walked back to the garage and kicked it. One hard kick, right at the base. The camera caught the impact and the scuff mark his boot left on the white paint. He stood in the driveway for 20 minutes. Just stood there. Then he got in his truck and drove away. 20 minutes later, a text from Ray. Open the door, Tori. This is ridiculous. I just want my stuff. I replied. I texted you the pickup procedure. Call first. We'll be home. Daylight hours. Ray. I don't need permission to go to my daughter's house. Me. It's not your house, Dad. 3 dots appeared. Then disappeared. Then nothing. Jake photographed the scuff mark on the garage door that evening, added it to the manila folder. Date, time, description. I wasn't collecting evidence because I expected a fight. I was collecting evidence because I had learned, from 10 weeks of Army training and 30 years of being the Barrett backup plan, that the best protection is the kind you hope you never need. Day 6. My mother showed up at Fort Scott, the Army installation where I worked. She couldn't get past the gate. Civilian visitors needed a military sponsor, and Diane Barrett didn't have one. So she parked in the visitor lot and called my cell. "Tori, I'm at the gate. Can you come out?" I walked out to the parking lot in my duty uniform. Diane was leaning against her Camry, arms crossed, eyes red. "Your father can't sleep," she said before I reached the car. "He's barely eating. You're tearing this family apart. He tore it apart when he skipped my graduation to go dress shopping with Megan. That's not fair. Megan needed me that day. I needed you too, Mom. I stood in front of 300 soldiers with nobody in my section. A stranger's mother hugged me and told me she was proud of me." Diane's lip quivered. For a second, I thought she might actually hear me. Then the quiver hardened into something else. "If you don't give your father the money, he's going to take it personally. You know how he gets." There it was. Not an apology, not an acknowledgement, a warning, wrapped in the language of concern but carrying the weight of a threat. "He can get however he wants, Mom. The answer is no." She stared at me for a long time. Then she got into her car, closed the door, and drove away, without another word. I stood in the parking lot and watched her Camry disappear down the access road. She had driven 45 minutes to cry in a parking lot on an army base. She had never driven 4 hours to watch me graduate. I went back inside, sat at my desk. My hands were shaking, but my voice hadn't cracked once. I held on to that. Day 7. The deadline. Ray never called to arrange a pickup time, never texted, never sent anyone on his behalf. I sent one final message that morning. "The 7-day window has expired. Your items are boxed and in the garage. You can arrange a supervised pickup this weekend. After Sunday, I'm donating what's left." His reply came in under 2 minutes. "You don't get to throw away my property. That's theft." I showed Jake the text. He shook his head. "It's not theft if we gave him a week and documented everything." I knew that. But I also knew my father wasn't making a legal argument. He was making a power play. The same move he'd been running since I was 16, declare ownership over something that didn't belong to him and dare someone to push back. That afternoon, I organized the documentation one more time. Every text message printed and dated. Ring doorbell footage saved to a USB drive. Photographs of every item with timestamps. The yellow legal pad with the itemized list. The scuff mark photo. My original text setting the 7-day deadline. His failure to respond. I put everything in the manila folder and set it on the kitchen table. Jake looked at it. "That's thorough." The Army taught me a lot of things. How to march. How to qualify on a rifle range. How to pack a rucksack for a 12-mile hike. But the thing that saved me was something a supply sergeant told me on my 3rd day. "If it's not documented, it didn't happen." Jake nodded. "Everything happened," I said. "And I've got the paper to prove it." Saturday morning, Jake and I were both home. The house was clean. The folder was on the table. The new deadbolt was locked. The doorbell rang at 9:15. Tori gave her dad 7 days. He didn't pick up a single thing. Now the deadline has passed and he's calling it theft. But what happens next? When the doorbell rings on Saturday morning, that's the moment everything changes. Stay with me. This is about to get real. I opened the front door. My father stood on the porch in his work boots and a flannel shirt, hands at his sides, jaw set. Behind him, in the driveway, my mother sat in the passenger seat of his truck with the engine running. "I want my stuff," he said. "Come in through the front. We'll walk you to the garage." He didn't move. "I'm not being escorted in my own daughter's house like a criminal." "You're not being escorted. We're being present. Those are different things." He looked past me at Jake, standing in the hallway. Something shifted in his expression. Not anger, exactly. Calculation. Then he stepped through the door. We walked him to the garage. Jake opened it from the inside panel. The boxes were lined up against the wall. Neat. Labeled. Every fishing rod wrapped in bubble wrap and tagged. The tool chest wiped down, drawers closed. The mini fridge unplugged, cleaned, and defrosted. The tackle box latched and set on top of the labeled boxes. Ray stopped in the doorway and stared. He had expected chaos. He had expected his things thrown into garbage bags or piled in the driveway. He had expected to be outraged. Instead, everything was cataloged, organized, ready for pickup, military precision. He didn't say thank you. He walked to the tool chest first and opened the bottom drawer, felt around under the liner, looked up at me. The key's gone. I found it, Jake said. We disposed of it. Ray's nostrils flared. He closed the drawer and started loading the truck. I handed him items as he needed them. Neither of us spoke. The only sounds were the scrape of boxes on concrete and the tailgate groaning under the weight. Halfway through, he stopped. He turned around slowly, leaned against the tailgate, crossed his arms. You think you're so smart? His voice was low, controlled, but barely. Changed the locks, cut off the money, sent your mother away crying from a parking lot. I said nothing. Waited. I raised you, Tori. I put food on the table for 18 years. I kept a roof over your head. I taught you how to ride a bike and how to change a tire. And this is what I get? $8 and a deadbolt? You didn't come to my graduation, Dad. He waved his hand like I'd said something trivial. It was basic training. That's not a real graduation. Your sister's wedding was a real event, a real milestone, something that actually mattered. Not a real graduation. He said it like 10 weeks of training, gas chamber drills, and qualifying with a rifle was summer camp. Like standing in formation while a sergeant pinned my rank was nothing. Jake stepped forward. Sir, with all due respect, your daughter served her country. That ceremony was real. Ray's finger came up, pointed at Jake's chest. This is between me and my daughter. Stay out of it. I stepped between them. Not fast, not aggressive, just moved into the space. Jake is my family, Dad. He showed up. You didn't. Ray's hand dropped. His face went through 3 expressions in 2 seconds. Surprise, then anger, then something I'd never seen before. Something close to fear. The fear of a man who had just realized his authority had no walls left to echo off of. He loaded the last box without a word, slammed the tailgate, got in the truck. My mother stared straight ahead through the windshield. She didn't look at me. The truck pulled away. The street went quiet. Monday morning. My phone rang at 8:45. Megan. First time she had called me directly since the Venmo incident. I almost didn't answer, but something told me to hear what she had prepared. Look, her voice was measured, rehearsed. I know things are tense between you and Dad, but this wedding is really important to me. Can we just figure out the money thing? I'm not asking for the whole 8,000. Even 3 would help. What did you contribute to my graduation, Megan? What? That was basic training. Everyone does basic training. And everyone has a wedding. Not everyone asks their sister for $8,000 to pay for it. Silence. I could hear her breathing change. The sisterly tone was holding, but just barely. You know, Tori, you've always been jealous of me, ever since we were kids. This isn't about the money. This is about you being bitter that I had things easier. Bitter would be calling you names. What I'm doing is saying no. Fine. Her voice went flat, sharp. The rehearsal was over. Then don't expect an invitation to my wedding. I'm not having someone there who resents me on my special day. Okay. That caught her off guard. She expected a fight. She expected me to scramble, to apologize, to beg for an invitation. Instead, I gave her one word and waited. Okay? That's all you have to say? What would you like me to say? She hung up. I set the phone down and drank my coffee. Outside, a cardinal sat on the fence post. Biscuit pressed her nose against the glass door and whined. I hadn't planned on attending the wedding, but hearing Megan revoke the invitation still landed somewhere. Not in the place she intended. Just somewhere. That week, I did something I'd never done before. I built a case file, not for court, not for a lawyer, for clarity. I sat at the kitchen table every evening after work and organized everything into a single document, a timeline, factual, no adjectives, no emotion, just dates and events. The auto transfers, 30 months at $400 per month. Total, $12,000. Megan's credit card bailouts, $1,200 and $2,300. Total, $3,500. Combined financial support over 2.5 years, $15,500. Number of family members at my basic training graduation, 0. Number of days between graduation and the $8,000 text, 22. I called my friend Corporal Lewis, the woman whose family had adopted me on Family Day. Lou, you dealt with family drama when you were in. How'd you handle it? Kept everything in writing. Never engaged on the phone if I could text instead. And if they ever showed up uninvited, I called the police first. The police? Get ahead of the story. The first person to call is the one who sets the narrative. I thought about that. Then I opened the family group chat and drafted a message. I didn't send it. Just wrote it and saved it in my notes. The message was simple. A summary of everything. Graduation, the money, the garage, the spare key, the copy of the copy, the backup plan comment from the chat. All of it laid out in order, dated, and factual. I showed Jake that evening. He read it through twice. It's not mean, he said. It's just true. That's what makes it devastating. I saved the draft. The wedding was 9 days away. I would know when to send it. Megan's wedding was on a Saturday in November. 53 degrees. Overcast. The kind of day that looks beautiful in photographs if you adjust the lighting. Jake and I stayed home. I made chili in the slow cooker. He raked leaves in the backyard. Biscuit chased squirrels. We didn't mention the wedding once until my phone started buzzing after 4. Social media. Megan's friends, tagging her in photos. Megan in white, glowing. Ray walking her down the aisle in a rented suit. Chin up. Proud. Diane in the front row, dabbing her eyes with a lace handkerchief. I scrolled through the photos the way you watch a movie about strangers. Interested maybe, but detached. Like I was observing someone else's family, which, in a way, I was. At 5:22, Cousin Amy texted me privately. Everyone noticed you're not here. Your dad told people you were deployed overseas and couldn't make it. Deployed. My father told 100 wedding guests that I was deployed. I was sitting on my couch in sweatpants 4 miles from the venue, eating chili. He lied, Amy added. Then an eye roll emoji. I stared at the text. He didn't just skip my graduation. He erased my absence from his own narrative, made himself the proud military father whose daughter was serving overseas, instead of the man whose daughter stopped answering his calls. Jake walked in from the backyard, leaves in his hair. You okay? Yeah, I think I am. And I meant it. That evening, at 8:14 during the reception, I opened the family group chat, pasted the message I'd drafted a week earlier. The timeline, the numbers, the facts. I pressed send. Every phone at the head table buzzed at the same time. The chat lit up inside of 3 minutes. Aunt Gloria, first as always. Tori, this is Megan's day. How could you do this? Uncle Frank went quiet. He'd read the financial breakdown. 12,000 in transfers, 3,500 in credit card bailouts, 15,500 total. He didn't post again for the rest of the night. My mother. This is lies. We never called you a backup plan. I didn't respond. I had said what I needed to say. The document spoke for itself. Megan at 11:47 that night. A text. Not in the group chat, just to me. Attached was a selfie. Mascara streaked down both cheeks. Wedding dress wrinkled at the hem. The background looked like a bathroom stall. You ruined my wedding. I typed back one line. I wasn't there. How could I ruin it? She didn't reply. My father sent nothing. No text. No call. No voicemail. Complete silence. That was the part that made me uneasy. I'd seen him angry. I'd seen him threatening. I'd never seen him go quiet. Jake and I watched a movie that night. Some action thing with too many explosions. I fell asleep on the couch halfway through. He put a blanket over me and let me sleep until morning. Sunday was peaceful. I didn't check the group chat. I didn't call anyone. I took Biscuit to the park, picked up groceries, came home, made dinner, lived a normal, unremarkable Sunday. On Monday, I went to work. Tuesday was the same. Tuesday afternoon, My desk phone rang. The front desk receptionist at the logistics office. Specialist Barrett, there's a call for you on line 2. It's the Collinsville Police Department. My stomach dropped, then steadied. Thank you. I'll take it. Ma'am, this is Officer Davis with the Collinsville Police Department. We received a complaint from a Raymond Barrett regarding property at your residence on Elm Street. He's alleging theft of personal belongings and unauthorized lockout from the premises. I sat up straight, squared my shoulders. My voice came out level and clear, the way the Army had trained it to. Officer, I understand. I can explain the situation. Would you prefer to discuss this at the house? We're actually sending someone over now, ma'am. Can you meet us there in about 30 minutes? Yes, ma'am. I'll be there. I hung up, took one breath, called Jake. My dad called the police on us. 2 seconds of silence. Then, I'll have the documentation ready. Meet you at home. I told my sergeant I had a personal matter and left base. The drive home was 14 minutes. I kept both hands on the wheel. I checked my mirrors. I drove the speed limit. My father called the police on me. Not because I stole anything. Not because I threatened anyone. Not because I committed a crime. Because I stopped giving. Because I changed a lock. Because I sent $8 instead of $8,000 and told the truth in a group chat. He had used every weapon in his arsenal. Guilt, family pressure, my mother's tears, my sister's ultimatum, the spare key, the garage, the threat to disown me. None of it worked. So he called the cops. The final authority card. I pulled into the driveway at 3:42. There was a squad car parked in front of the house. Jake's truck was already there. The porch light was on. I turned off the engine, gathered myself, walked to the front door. It was time to finish this. 2 officers stood in the foyer. Officer Davis was a woman about my age, dark hair pulled back, professional. Her partner, Officer Chen, was taller, quieter, holding a notepad. Ma'am, we received a complaint, Davis said. Mind if we sit down? Of course. Can I get you anything? Water? We're fine, thank you. We sat at the dining table. Jake was already there with the manila folder open in front of him. He'd laid out the documents in order, like a brief, like a supply chain audit. Because that's what we did. Officers, my husband has some documentation you might find relevant. Davis looked at the folder, then at Jake. He slid it across. First page, the text message setting the 7-day pickup deadline. Date stamped, screenshot printed. Second page, Ring doorbell footage stills. Ray attempting the old garage code 3 times, trying the front door with the old key, kicking the garage. Third page, photographs of every item in the garage, time-stamped, with the itemized list. Fourth page, property deed showing the house belonged to Jacob and Tori Barrett. Sole owners. No other names. Davis flipped through each page. Chen took notes. Neither of them spoke for about 2 minutes. Davis looked up. Ma'am, based on what I'm seeing, this property belongs to you and your husband. Is that correct? Yes, ma'am. My father had a spare key, which we revoked. We gave him 7 days written notice to retrieve his belongings. He attempted to enter without permission on day 5. We documented everything. Davis nodded slowly. She looked at her partner. Chen gave a small nod back. Ma'am, this appears to be a civil matter, Davis said. Not criminal. Across the street, my father's truck sat parked at the curb. He was watching. A knock at the front door. Hard. 3 times. Officer Davis walked over and opened it. Ray stood on the porch, chest puffed, jaw locked. He looked past her into the house. Saw the officers. Saw the manila folder on the table. Saw me sitting with my hands folded. Sir, come in, Davis said. We've been reviewing the situation. He stepped inside. Didn't take off his boots. Didn't sit down. That's my stuff she's got in there. I want it back. And I want her charged with theft. Davis's voice stayed even. Sir, your daughter provided a 7-day written notice for pickup. She has documentation of your attempt to access the property without authorization. The house is in her name. Legally, this is a civil matter, not a criminal one. Ray's face flushed from the neck up. She changed the locks on me. I had a key to this house. Homeowners have the right to change their locks at any time, sir. He turned to me. Full body pivot, like a man who'd just lost his last card and was about to flip the table. After everything I did for you, after I raised you, this is how you treat your father? With cops and locks and $8? I looked at him, kept my voice level, kept my breathing steady. You didn't come to my graduation. You asked me for $8,000 3 weeks later. You moved your stuff into my garage without asking. You made a copy of my house key without telling me. You tried to break in when I changed the locks. I paused. Let the silence hold. You kept saying, you understand, right? Yeah, Dad. I finally understand. He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. His hands were shaking. Not from sadness, from the kind of anger that has nowhere left to go. He looked at Officer Davis for support. Her face was neutral, professional. Davis said, Sir, I'd recommend you arrange a mutually agreed time to collect your remaining items. If there's a further dispute about property, you'll need to handle it through civil court. Ray turned and walked out. The front door swung wide. He didn't close it. Truck door slammed. Engine roared. Tires left marks on the asphalt. The street went quiet. Officer Davis gathered the paperwork and handed the folder back to Jake. Ma'am, she said, pausing at the door. For what it's worth, you handled that well. A lot of people don't document things the way you did. Thank you, officer. One more thing. If he returns to the property without your permission, call us. At that point, it's trespassing. They left. I watched the squad car pull away from the window. Then I closed the door, turned the new deadbolt, pressed my back against the wood and stood there. Jake came up behind me. He didn't say anything, didn't touch me. Just stood there, close enough that I could feel him, far enough that I had room. It's done, I said. It's done, he said. I walked into the kitchen, opened the drawer next to the stove, the small drawer where I kept rubber bands, spare batteries, and a screwdriver. There used to be a hook on the inside of the cabinet wall, a brass hook where my father's spare key hung for 2 years. The hook was still there, but the key was gone. I'd thrown it away. Jake had thrown away the copy. I unscrewed the hook. 2 small screws. Took about 30 seconds. I held it in my palm. A small brass hook. Nothing, really. $1.50 at any hardware store. But it had held something that didn't belong there anymore. I dropped it in the kitchen trash can. It landed on top of the coffee grounds with a tiny sound. Some things don't need a place anymore. That evening, Jake and I sat on the back porch with Biscuit between us. The neighborhood was quiet. Crickets. A distant lawnmower. The kind of ordinary sounds you don't appreciate until the chaos stops. I checked my phone. 4 missed calls from Diane. 1 text from Megan. Dad is saying he's going to sue you. I turned the phone off and set it face down on the armrest. Do you think I went too far? I asked Jake. He looked at me. Really looked. The way he did when he was choosing his words carefully. You sent a group chat with facts. You changed your own locks. You cooperated fully with the police. Where, exactly, is too far? I leaned back. Thought about Sergeant Reeves. The way she'd walked me across the parade field and handed me to a stranger's family because she could see what mine had refused to be. Family shows up, I said. Quiet, almost to myself. Jake nodded. Family shows up. You showed up, Jake. I always will. We sat there until the light faded. Biscuit snored between us. My phone buzzed once more before I turned it off completely. Cousin Amy. Hey. I read the group chat message you sent. I had no idea about any of it. The money, the graduation, all of it. I'm sorry, Tori. I'm really sorry. I typed back. Thank you, Amy. That means more than you know. It did. 3 weeks after the police came to my house, I donated my father's remaining items to Goodwill. He never called to arrange the pickup, never sent anyone, never filed the lawsuit Megan warned me about. Just silence. The loudest silence I had ever heard from Ray Barrett. The craftsman tool chest went first, then the fishing rods, the tackle box, the folding table, the 2 unlabeled boxes. One of them turned out to be full of old hunting magazines. The other had a set of drill bits and a framed photo of Ray at 25, standing next to his own father, neither of them smiling. I looked at that photo for a long time before I put it in the donation pile. My mother sent a letter. Physical mail. 2 pages, handwritten on stationery with roses at the borders. The first page was guilt. The second was an ultimatum. When you're ready to apologize, we'll be here. I didn't respond. Cousin Amy called the following week. She told me something that stuck. At the wedding reception, after everyone read your message, your dad sat alone at table 4 for about 20 minutes. Just sat there staring at his phone. Didn't talk to anyone. Didn't eat. Then he stood up, walked to the microphone, and gave his toast like nothing happened. She paused. He looked old, Tori. Really old. I didn't feel satisfaction when she said that. I didn't feel vindication. I felt something smaller and heavier, like a door closing on a room I used to live in. I enrolled in an online MBA program that month. First class started in January, covered by the GI Bill. I didn't call home. Home didn't call me. For the first time in 30 years, the silence didn't scare me. It felt like the beginning of something I'd been waiting my whole life to start. People will call you selfish for setting boundaries. They'll say you're cold, ungrateful, heartless. But here's what I learned standing in that graduation line with no one in my section. The people who love you don't make you earn it. They show up. They show up even when it costs them something. And if they won't show up for you, you have every right to stop showing up for them. That's not cruelty. That's not revenge. That's just finally deciding that your peace matters more than their comfort. That's my story. 3 empty chairs, 1 $8 Venmo, and a set of locks that changed everything. If this reminded you that your peace matters more than their approval, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.